conversation.
All right, why not?
And do you want wine too?
I want all the drinks.
All right, you guys.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have here in the podcast studio Jessica Antess. People are screaming and cheering. Wait, who are those people that are screaming and cheering? They're everyone who saw her on Ravinia TV. and WGN.
Yes,
recently?
Ravinia TV, WGN News, twice in like 1 week.
Holy
Yes,
shit.
she's a celebrity.
She's a real celeb. I actually didn't see the WGN thing. What was that?
So WGN came. So I've been doing this sketch for Ravinia TV, and WGN came and did a fake/real report. So like they did like a fake report for the sake of the sketch, but then it was really broadcasted on WGN talking about how like Ravinia's doing Ravinia TV. And then the other WGN thing was our tree ladies, the local women react to fallen trees.
Yep.
So I can give you a link to that if you want to see it. Hashtag.
We'll put it in the link to the podcast so you can check it out, everybody. I feel like you are on top of your video game with Carrie.
You know, and she's even more so than me. She knows a lot about the ticks and the talks, and I'm just like, I don't know. So I like to have these all lined up.
There we go, perfectly. We have 3 beverages here, everybody who's listening in. We have wine, coffee, and tap water.
The water turned to wine, like
well,
Lord and
yes,
Savior.
His blessings on you every morning.
Everyone, okay, namaste, wherever you believe.
We've already given it away. I'm very excited that Jessica's here because not only is she an improviser and sketch comedian and famous on Ravinia TV, but we both also have like a pretty in-depth religious upbringing that I thought would be fun to talk about.
Cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag. The beans have been spilled.
No, meow meow beans.
So this will be a real hoot.
Okay, yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I would love to hear more. So Jehovah's Witness, right?
Yeah, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness as a child, not practicing anymore.
And I feel like there's very seldomly like there's like it's not like there's diet Jehovah's Witness or like Jehovah's Witness light, right? It's like I feel like if you're in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way I felt like too. Like I grew up in like a big evangelical church. It was like a mega
Not
church.
crying, my mascara is just bothering
It's
me.
okay,
today.
let it out. We're gonna get emotional.
That's what the wine's for, and then uppers, downers. Okay. Baptism.
Self-medicating.
I'm sorry. Stop talking.
I feel like some of those like it's like being like it's like on the same spectrum as like being Amish. It's like they're all like a way of life almost. You know, so it's like when you're in.
Yeah. You're in.
And so it's I feel like culturally you can like live in the States and like have an entirely different upbringing just based off of like the religion you came up in, right? Like someone who grew up in an evangelical like mega church and like very like sincere like religious beliefs. I didn't like listen to like the regular music people were listening to. It wasn't DC Talk. It wasn't Newsboys. It wasn't like these Christian bands. I wasn't allowed to watch like PG-13 and up rated movies. So it's like there's so much culturally when I grew up that I like missed out on.
Interesting.
Or like experienced later as an adult.
See, I think my parents, while strict, were not super confining.
Okay.
As in my upbringing, I feel like I wouldn't say it was JW light, but I would say maybe it's, I don't know, not even diet. But
it wasn't orthodox. It was like,
well,
moderate.
I think my parents recognized like, hey, my kids are human. And like, I think my parents both have a very, very good sense of humor and like to play. And I think they worked really hard to make sure that we were happy and we didn't feel as excluded as maybe a lot of other kids did.
So you had good parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I think
Which is a reasonable thing that any parent should do, regardless of
yeah. I think they didn't, while they made it a very big priority in my life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was very much like we go to what's called meetings Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. We go knock on doors on Saturdays. I wasn't allowed to do sports or plays or things like that.
Or blood transfusions.
Didn't need one. But we weren't allowed to do that because we weren't allowed to like associate with kids that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. Like you can go to school, but I wasn't supposed to say the pledge. So like I would stand up every morning and be like this while everybody else was like this. Or if a kid brought birthday cupcakes.
Did you ever get grief for that?
Not really. My parents would always have a meeting with the teacher at the beginning of the school year and be like, hey, this is the situation. And teachers were always very respectful and like kind about it. Nobody was ever like, are you sure you don't want to say the pledge? Like nobody was. I had good teachers. So you may talk to other people who grew up in whatever religion, be like, my tortured past. I don't feel like I was like in pain or but I definitely there's aspects of that I think have like trickled into adulthood, but like the fact that like, okay, somebody brought cupcakes for their birthday. I had to go sit in the hallway while everyone else ate
because they're celebrating
treats.
a birthday.
Yeah.
And you can't celebrate birthdays as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like that, I always joke like that, me as an adult now, I'm like, I get 2 cupcakes because I'm
making up. And I get to take myself out for ice cream afterwards.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't going to be ice cream.
Well, today there is. But yeah, that was definitely like a thing. And it seems minor, but it's like being the kid who has to get up and excuse themselves from fun was hard.
Yeah, it is hard when you're a kid.
Or like not coming, or like I couldn't skip school on the Halloween parade. I had to go sit in the principal's office and wait for the parade to be done. Like,
so you've like things you've said I already like can relate to and agree with that. Like one, I didn't grow up in having an awful childhood.
Yeah.
Like my childhood was awesome, wonderful, lovely. But there's some things about it that are like at times felt either tough or like now more in retrospect actually like felt weird. Like, oh yeah, we didn't do that. And like, it felt, it feels so normal as a kid when you're in it. People are always like, you explain like your religious upbringing to people who didn't have something similar or as intense. And they're like, what? And you're like, no, it's actually kind of normal. or like it felt normal to me.
Sure.
And I didn't feel like.
well, and I think these customs that everybody does, I mean, like, sure, that's normal because everybody's doing them, but it doesn't mean that like those are great.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know, like my parents did a really good job of creating other opportunities. Like my grandma was not is not a Jehovah's Witness, but respectfully, she was like, hey, I don't get to celebrate their birthdays anymore. So my parents converted when I was in 3rd grade. I wasn't born into it.
Which I think is pretty interesting to have parents who like convert to something very like very intense like that. Because I feel like most people have, made up their minds about religion.
Yeah.
At that age.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like they came to my parents' door and my mom was like, I'm going to fight these people. And then she was like, I actually like what they're saying. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
do you remember like the day that happened and everything?
I don't think they brought us into it until
okay. I don't know if you were like sitting
later.
at the dinner table.
Yeah. Get 'em, Mom.
She came back like a different woman. Like,
oh, you're glowing.
I've heard the news. Did you know that Jesus has been on this earth since 1914?
You've been doing some.
I did a little Jehovah's Witness research.
I think I forget. There's a significance in 1914, but now if my parents watch us, they're going to be like, "You're We failed you.
Let's pump the brakes real quick, because we talked before we even like started recording of like, there's this feeling of like, when you're talking about religion, it's like man, like you might not think this way anymore, and you might not feel this way, but there's also this feeling of like the love and respect you have for people who do, and like how like in our like conversations about it, we're like my family was very religious. Like I think they're awesome and I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
And like though I wouldn't agree with them on everything anymore, there's like no part of me that has like ill will towards what my family believes or other people believe religiously.
Sure. I mean, and across the board, religions.
Stepping carefully, stepping real carefully, doodly doo.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like, and my parents, even still to this day, they're just like, you need to get right with God and you need to establish a relationship again. And I'm just like, that's what you believe. But I don't know. I think it's a personal thing, and like logging how many hours you spend knocking on people's doors, or like, I'm here. Everybody see that I'm here. Everybody notices that I'm active. Okay, great. All right. I'm a good Christian. Right. Like, it just is like, what are your other actions besides that?
Sure.
What are the things that you're doing in your life to actually show love and kindness to people, regardless age, gender, race, demographic, like economic status? I just feel like there's like some check boxes, and it's like, I'm a good person, but you're going to hell.
It's a way you can measure.
Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in hell, but
it's a way you can measure. Oh, they don't. Well,
isn't that something? So I've always felt good about that. I'm going to
give Jehovah's Witness some extra points right now, because if there's anything in religion that just like doesn't settle correctly, is the idea that like you believe in a all-loving being who is going to send the majority of the world to eternal suffering.
Well, I didn't say that they don't believe in something.
What's that? What?
Jonny, if you turn your Bible to Revelation.
What is this other place I don't know about?
So they believe in Armageddon, right? And the destruction of anybody who is not.
I've seen the movie.
Yes. So Ben Affleck's going to come back. Actually, Bruce Willis comes back because he goes and he dies on the asteroid. So it's destruction of, anything with like this system of things, along with like Satan and, people who don't, who haven't sided with God. And then chosen people are supposed to survive through that and live eternally on earth. And then there's supposed to be 144,000 people from the beginning of time who are supposed to rule with God, right? So only 144,000 people go to heaven. The rest of the good people stay on earth.
Oh boy, that's not many.
That's not many at all.
No.
So
and the rest of the chosen people stay on earth?
Mm-hmm. And then there's like this hope of
Do they live eternally?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then there's a hope of a resurrection for anybody, and they get a second judgment after.
And how many people get called up in that casting call?
You're going to get a call back.
You're going to get a call back? Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's a call back.
I hope I get it. It's like a chorus line, okay? So God is the director. Oh God, I feel bad. But like, yeah. So there's like a second. I can't. So like there's like the idea of like, oh, it showed that like Jesus came back to life. So there's the hope that other people can come back to life. And so eventually there's a belief that like the earth will be a paradise and nobody will ever die.
Oh, okay. And then what happened? What happened to the people who weren't the elect and weren't good enough to make it to Earth? Do you know?
They are sent to like eternal destruction, right? Like complete sleep. Like there's no concept of like, because they believe there's no mention of hell in the Bible. There's just like, but then there's like what is it, like Gehenna is a word?
There's like an area where they burned trash outside of Jerusalem.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe we both
and that's
know
what they
this.
refer to.
And that's like when you're dead, you're dead.
Okay.
Right? But there's
Which to
no
me-
like
Which to me, that
spirit.
seems a little bit more fair.
I
Like,
mean,
I feel like if anything is already going for the Jehovah's Witness after hearing this much, that seems more reasonable. Like everything about the belief that like the majority of the world would go and suffer forever is like a heartbreaking, awful, sad belief. That
yeah, it's like, why are we here?
which I would be like, like, I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics you have to do if you believe that to actually think that the person in charge of that and the person who set up that game is a good, benevolent person. Like, yeah, that has always been a mind-boggling aspect for me of people's belief in hell.
And even just I mean, like, we're getting a little deep here, but we're three sips into wine, so why not?
This is I'm accidentally doing some advertising. This is La Grange 360 Trader Joe's wine.
Legrand J.A. Legrand Jessica Antess.
Feel free to sponsor this podcast.
Thank you, Lagrange. So, I mean, like, the idea of an afterlife is, and sorry, this might be where people turn it off. I don't know.
Oh, no.
But, like, the idea of an afterlife, I think, is such a human construct of, like, we can't admit that we die.
Okay.
Like, plants die, dogs die, cats die, chickens die. Like, what makes us above? I don't know. That might be me being completely arrogant and egotistical, but I don't know. I don't know the answer, and I shouldn't know the answer because I'm alive.
You already have, interestingly enough, in your Jehovah's Witness beliefs, the concept of death, where it's like, I guess in some Christian circles, other Christian circles, or however you want to frame it, there's, people are like, hey, you die, or you get eternal life. It's like, well, it sounds like you don't ever lose consciousness if you live forever in hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even for like a majority of people, like with Christian beliefs and believe in hell, I guess they don't really believe in death for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas you already have in Jehovah's Witness beliefs that there's people who die. Yeah.
I mean, and right now, I mean, like, I am not, I'm not, I don't know, like, excuse me. I right now, I think I'm at the point, like, I don't know what I believe.
Okay.
Because, and I don't know. I just think so much has been created to control people and to shy away from the fact that, like, death is so final. And I just, like, I don't know. I watch, like, the seasons change, and I watch, cycles of life in every other piece, but, like, why are humans above that? I don't know. I'll say it. I'm comfortable with the fact that if I'm dead, I'm dead. Like, I think I've lived my life. My memory can live on because I was on WGN and Ravinia TV. Hashtag. But I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't feel like there's something afterwards. And if there is, awesome. But if there's not, I'm okay with it.
Interesting. I think, like, the dynamics totally change, like, when you think of, like, man, what's more heavy? Like, people, like, dying and there being nothing, or people dying, some people getting to go to paradise, and some people being tortured forever. It's like, well, if I had to pick, I would say it would probably just be better that people died. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, think about, like, this is getting real freaking dark. But, Like, who knew Jessica could talk about things other than tits and poop?
I know. I'm just like, could you please stop talking about tits and poop for Jessica literally came in, looked at this coffee vessel that I made, and immediately was like, it looks like, what'd you say? It looks like tits?
It does look like tits. There's like two droopy tits. Look, hang on. There's like two skinny legs and
see, that's
two
obviously,
dangly tits
that's
on top of
obviously
it.
balls right there.
Oh,
and
okay. It's a dick
and this
and balls.
this is the wiener.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I
it's
purposely-
some very warm. Carrie and I were just talking about balls before I came over here. Like when balls, we'll get back to religion, but we were talking about like balls being like taut and like up against the body, and then when it's like warm out, they're like, ugh, it's like hanging silly putty,
They're
and it's so gross. And those are
it's a
silly putty
complete
balls.
personality change.
Yeah.
Right? It's like two sides of a person.
Yin
The
and
taut
the
side is
yang.
like, and like the droopy side's like, cool, man, whatever.
Oh, you want to have sex? Probably not right now because it's too hot.
And I will say this as a human who has balls, the droopy side's way better.
Really?
Yeah. Even if it means like, sticking to the side of your leg more.
Oh, I see
or
so many men
whatever.
go, ugh.
I would rather. There's something unsettling about like they're cold, they're bothered, or something, and they're like there's something a little bit physically unsettling about that. Maybe it's like, I don't know.
I mean, aesthetically, I think a taut ball sack is more pleasing
Oh, no way.
to me. But maybe someone else likes a low hanging set. To each their own.
What if it's like super taut?
Oh, if it's like, it's so. I'm not talking like it's so cold your wiener looks like a button. Like, I'm not. Look how tiny your peepee is.
A button.
Yeah.
I know, but wiener aside, let's say it was like a normal length, but like your balls are that tight, like because it's like you just jumped in ice water. Is that aesthetic? Is that the one you're-
Ice water balls. No, I'm just talking like. I'm just thinking about the people I've been with and taut versus low hanging. You know who you are. If you're watching. Is this the clip you're going to put up on Instagram?
Yes.
I don't even know where we were.
We were gonna get dark and heavy.
We were talking about death and the afterlife, and then we skipped to balls.
It's all a part of the
Circular.
experience of life, right?
Circle of life.
I wanted to go back to, so like, even though some things might seem like intense or like oh, that's pretty poignant that this is what you do in like your church or whatever. There's some things already that you said that I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. One was like the religious belief that there's no hell. Two was like not saying the pledge to the flag. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm all about like our country being like a pretty stinking good country and having some great things going for it. But the idea that like you need to pledge to this country any sort of allegiance, no thank you. I can support this country and not put my hand over my heart and like say an oath of allegiance to it. And I feel like more people should be turned off by that than are.
Yeah.
Like you can be fine with this country. You could serve, you could do whatever you need and not have to like pledge an oath to a flag.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk because sometimes countries do bad things.
Yeah.
And sometimes countries are completely out of line. Oh, never the US. But if there ever came a time or place when your country was out of line, why have you pledged an allegiance to it? It's like that's no good. That's
And it's like
no
this
bueno.
like weird chant that like you zone out and you're like, I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to
your
the
flag. Every single Monday through Friday
Yeah.
in the elementary school.
And you know what? When I was a little kid, I was like, oh. And I like sometimes I'd be like,
Good for you. Good. You pretended to murmur it just so people weren't like looking at you.
Yeah, I didn't want to stand out. Like,
I pretended to murmur it too sometimes just because I thought like talking first thing in the morning, my voice felt weird.
that shit is so weird. I mean, like, I don't know. I just like there was so much exclusion.
Yeah.
And like even to this day, like I've definitely been thinking about this a lot in the last few years, being like, like sometimes there's this like, oh, I don't belong. Everybody hates me. Oh, do I actually fit in here kind of feeling, because I was so removed from people that like I had to exclude myself. And now I'm like, am I doing this right?
Yep.
And like, I think, and I was thinking about this morning because it was like, we had talked about like, this is something we kind of want to touch on, but like, even like, I think like the improv scene, I was like, oh my God, this is like the first time that like, I'm like, yeah, you fit in here. And like, I don't know. I think that was like a huge appeal, like in like some transition in my life, being like, oh, like you can find a place somewhere versus this like forced like removal of oneself. I mean, like I was forced to be friends with so many kids. Excuse me. When I was growing up, because it was just like, well, these are the kids you're allowed to play with versus like making your own choice. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
You know what is not weird and just completely human is that this idea of whatever you grew up in, of like it affecting you the rest of your life, for good or for bad, no matter where you say out on paper what you actually believe, or like, now as an adult. My brother and I talk about this too, and like with his boyfriend, and like my husband doesn't understand it as well, but about like I grew up with a lot of guilt, and like how it can sneak back in, and even as an adult, and like shame and all that can sneak back in, and like I'll probably never not ever have those feelings. Like I just have a guilty conscience in general. Like it not only does it extend from like separating from some beliefs that like I had like as a kid, but also like every time I pass a police officer get nervous. As a white man who doesn't get hassled by the police, you know what I mean? It's not like I have a real like legit thing like Black Americans have to deal with, or like a fear. But I am always nervous passing a police officer because I just have so much guilt in my life. I'm like, I know I didn't do anything bad.
Oh yeah,
but I'm
there's
like
a policeman.
They don't know.
Like I did something.
I can walk past a police officer and feel guilty. Like I definitely have a lot of guilt in my life, and I feel like it's part and parcel of my upbringing.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up too, because my dad was a police officer for 40 years.
Oh.
So okay. I always felt like a criminal every day of my life.
Like, rightly so, though. Rightly so.
I mean, it was always like, I'm not playing games, just tell me. Or like, I know you're lying to me. And it's like, I didn't eat that. I didn't eat your candy. Like, it was constantly like, I mean, even still, like to this day, I'm terrified of my father. 'Cause it's like, my dad's an awesome dude, but my God, sometimes he's
got that police cop vibe.
Yeah. Like he just officially fully retired this spring. 40 years. Okay. Is wild.
Yep.
But yeah, like I'm not playing games, or like, that's not a threat. That's a promise. Like it was always like, like growing up. So yeah, I had some authorities, like not only like strong religious upbringing, but also, yes, a police officer father. It was a very confusing thing. And also, you're not really supposed to be a police officer as a Jehovah's Witness. So like
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, you're not supposed to carry a weapon.
Did your dad carry a weapon?
Well, yeah, he's a cop.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
So like he couldn't have certain privileges within the congregation because he had this career, but he's like, well, I'm not going to change jobs. And so like it was always like, well, you can't advance in the church if you're going to continue being a cop.
But you
can
can still be a part of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Talk to me about blood transfusions. So
I
if
don't
you
know
get a blood transfusion,
I don't know a lot about
you
it.
ostracized, or is it just not a good thing?
I think it's rooted somewhere in scripture, like you're not supposed to ingest blood or
of an animal or when you're eating.
So I think it's
sounds like Levitical law.
Yeah. And I'm not, I don't totally know. I remember being a kid being like, yeah, I have my no blood transfusion card, but I don't remember.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
So if you ultimately needed it life or death as a child, like you would have had to not.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. My parents would have not let me get one and relied on alternative methods or prayer.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is scary because I feel like, like we're given the gift of science and life-saving techniques. Like, why is that a thing?
It's also very
I don't know a ton about it to like totally speak
You're not an
to
authority on blood transfusions in Jehovah's Witness Church.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, I wanted to ask this. Jehovah's Witness is completely the same as Latter-day Saints, or is there some crossover, some not?
Again, so I have not practiced since I was 20.
Okay.
I'm now 38. But
She's pretty
I'm 38. So it's, I've been out of it almost as long as I was in it. Well, I've been out of it longer than I was in it. So some like adult kind of stuff, I'm not completely fully well versed in. Like some of the stuff was like, oh, my mom and dad said this. So what was it you just asked me? Oh, Latter-day Saints.
Yeah. Did you guys call yourself Latter-day Saints?
No, I think they're two different religions. So there's like
who's all in Utah? Mormons.
That's Mormons.
Are they Latter-day Saints?
I don't know.
Oh boy, I should know that. I should know that.
I feel like a lot of these kind of like branched off around like the same time period. It was all like mid 1800s.
Mormons are also have like recent contact with like scripture and you know what I mean, like as same as Jehovah's Witnesses.
No,
Jehovah's Witnesses I believe they believe, you can tell me from when I did my research on was that in 1914 Jesus came back to earth kind of invisible to us, and originally 1914 was supposed to be the beginning of Armageddon, which you picked a good date because you picked the beginning of World War One. And then they've kind of adjusted as things didn't pan out the way they thought they were going to pan out. They've kind of adjusted some of that belief, but that seems like more of a recent contact than like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot like based in like math and like the book of Daniel and these like gold rings around a tree or something.
Oh, gold rings around a tree?
Yeah.
Mormons have like plates. They found plates.
Well, this is something that's like in like Old Testament stuff that they're like, according to this, blah, 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 this adds up to this. I don't remember. Okay. I remember like sitting in Bible study as a kid being like,
there's an equation on the board.
Yeah. And just like, well, because like, oh man. So you would go to what's called the Kingdom Hall, right? That's like the name of the churches, right?
I remember seeing, there was a Kingdom Hall in our like city we grew up in there.
Oh, really? I
remember seeing that, yeah.
So you would do Kingdom Halls Tuesdays and Sundays. And on Thursday night was book study night. And
so we're already 3 nights a week.
Yes. So on book study night, it's usually in people's houses. And it'd be like, oh, this family hosts 20-something people for a smaller group study every week. The best part of that is the first week of every month was treat night, and people would bring desserts, and you'd be like, God, when is this over? Because I really want those lemon bars.
That's like, amazing. We had, I remember like they had like Bible studies at people's houses, and like as a kid, like we had to go play in the basement.
Yeah.
But then they would come down the stairs, and they had this like woman always brought down this like, it was a like literally a pyramid of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh my
That were like
God.
cut into quarters and stacked into a pyramid shape, and we were all like, when they came down the stairs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we just like gobbled them up.
Oh man, I still think about this banana cake with this cream cheese frosting that Sherry Stern used to make.
Sherry Stern.
Sherry Stern.
Okay. Tell me more.
Oh, I mean, it was just delicious.
So listen, if you're like, if so far you're listening and you're like, maybe I will convert to one of these religions, you get a great cherry cheesecake. Would you say?
Yeah, you get a dessert once a
You get a
month.
dessert?
Why not?
So think about that before you
I
make
am-
any decisions.
I am not selling religion here. I hope that is clear. I am not. I'm not. Because
but there is
again,
a dessert
I'm not,
once a month.
well,
But let's
I
be
don't think
fair to the
that's-
religion, okay? You're not selling it, but the people who get together do a dessert once a month. And I think if we're going to give it an honest shake, we have to say that.
You know,
You can't
You
drink.
might.
You can't get a...
you can drink.
You can drink?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. There are lots
Well,
of people getting hoisted.
Okay.
I mean,
That's-
probably
I'm
not
so surprised.
excessively, but
I thought
yeah,
you-
you're allowed to drink.
Wow. Okay, so, all right, another plus.
Yeah. Was it? In your,
I don't know why I'm trying to sell
in your
Jehovah's
chur-
Witnesses. I keep saying, okay, you say Christianity. How do you say Jehovah's Witnessism? What is that word? Was it your... there's Christian...
one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay. You can become one of... If you become one of the Jehovah's Witness, you can
Is-
drink. You can have this fun cake once a month.
But no
Sherry
smoking, no premarital sex.
Pish posh.
Pish posh. You can't carry a gun.
But they'll make allowances. You just can't move up.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, look, most people get what's called disfellowshipped because of sex. I mean, it's like,
Can you get back in?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about disfellowship.
Well, in my family, multiple people have just been disfellowshipped.
We won't name any
multiple
names.
times.
It's just, it's a personal thing.
Well, it is a personal but like,
She's 38 years old. She's 38 years old.
not 48. Don't make it sound like 48. 38.
She's 38.
38.
More like 28.
Yeah, 28 years old. So if you mess up, you are disfellowshipped, therefore removed from the church.
Mm-hmm.
You are not allowed to. It's shunning, like a Amish religion, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, like you can still come to all the meetings, but like you have to sit in the back. People don't talk to you. They don't look at you. Like it's this like.
Oh, that sounds like
You
being
don't-
like gay and coming out.
Yeah, I like it's this
Everyone
like you are
is everyone like
removed.
nice to you, but obviously there's something going on behind the
They
scene.
can, you're pretty much invisible.
Dang. Wow.
But like if you've got some really good friends, they might be like,
They'll give you a
like-
slice of that
yeah,
cake.
no, not even that. Like you have to leave before all like the like association after the meeting is over after the meeting's over and like people like stay and hang out. Like you're pretty much like, okay, prayer's done, you're out. Like you can't like stay and hang out. It's kind of a sad thing.
Which there's a decent amount of that, right? In like that belief system, that like you like technically if you leave the church, there's like people are supposed to be like not
Yeah.
associate with you anymore. Yeah,
You can
which
do
is
it.
a very powerful. I'm gonna say it like fear thing.
Absolutely.
Right? Like to be like I'm gonna like lose my family over this, right?
I lose my whole social network. I lose my friends. I lose my family.
Jessica,
Yeah.
which is like a decent amount of what kept me in the closet for a long time.
Sure.
Is even like after maybe I had mentally like switched over and been like, okay, hold on, some of this doesn't add up. I'm okay and comfortable on a personal level with being gay, and like I'm accepting of other gay people, but I can't come out of the closet right now because the cost is too high.
Yeah.
Because like I love my family and like I love the community I grew up in, and like I
so
don't want to
sad.
lose that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it is like, oh, I can't be my authentic self because I will lose everything. Or like I can't engage in a normal human behavior. I want to have sex with someone I love, but maybe I'm not ready to get married yet. Like, I mean, there was a big moment in my life, the biggest reason I left. And I don't know if you want to hear about that story.
Do you want to share it?
Oh, I don't mind.
Okay.
So like,
Okay, I'm in.
so I was 20 years old. So my parents got divorced. No, my parents got divorced when I was 18.
Okay.
So my dad, well, I don't need to unpack all that stuff,
Sure.
like my parents got divorced when I was 18. Both my parents ended up getting disfellowshipped. My sister was disfellowshipped. I never got baptized. So,
Were you never fellowshipped then in that case?
yeah, I was never,
You were never a fellow.
officially a Jehovah's Witness. My brother and I never got baptized.
Oh, okay.
So you can only get disfellowshipped if you're baptized.
Gotcha.
So
So you can't get broken up with if you're not technically a boyfriend and girlfriend.
I'm not into labels.
Yeah. That's what everyone says who doesn't like commitment.
Yeah. So it was my mom, my dad, my sister. They were all gone. And I was like, okay, well, this is all I know. I'm 18 years old. I guess like my brother was 15. I was like, I guess I'll keep us going. It was just me and him going. And then I was like,
Oh, going to the services and stuff.
yeah. And I was like, still hanging out with all my social groups and all this stuff. But I was like, I want to go to college. I want to do all this. And my brother was kind of like going to live his own life. And like, he wasn't super interested in like continuing to pursue this. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And so, I moved. So I finished community college because I was like,
Congratulations.
excuse me, I just burped into the microphone. So I finished community college and then was like, okay, I'm moving to Chicago. I want to go to Columbia College. I'm going to study film, all this stuff. And so I went to Columbia and they were like, well, she's just jumping straight from the frying pan to the fire. You are in for it. You are not going to serve, like, you're not going to do well, blah, blah,
Who
blah.
said that?
Like some like elders in my congregation.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like the Columbia staff.
Oh, no. No, like people from my church, they were like,
Columbia College.
you are like college it's dangerous.
The Rumspringer.
Well, and to be clear, Jehovah's Witnesses don't discourage college. If you want to get secondary education, like go for it. But it's very much like, what are you going for? Are you going for money? Are you going for greed? Blah, blah, blah.
It's probably greed on your part, right?
Yeah, I'm a very greedy person to want to survive on my own. So how dare I not be 21 and have 3 children? So I left and my brother was doing his own thing, blah, blah, blah. And I was interested in this boy in the congregation and he and I always had this like connection and blah, blah, blah.
We're not going to name names, but let's
No.
just call him Josiah because I feel like he's a Josiah.
Well, that's not his name, but yeah, we'll
Good,
go
so
with
we'll use
Josiah.
that then. If that was his name, then we would have to stop using it and we would have given away his name.
But he and I always had this connection, whatever. And
Yeah, you and Josiah.
he came down to visit me in the city. And oh my God, we had some drinks and we made out.
With Josiah?
And he stayed overnight in my apartment in Chicago. And he felt so guilty. Like literally all we did was kiss. That's it. And he slept over.
Was there any tongue?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like clothes on. We slept in the same bed, clothes on.
Socks?
Probably.
Okay.
It was like
Just
October.
Just checking.
But he, and I feel bad kind of sharing this story, but like it's what happened to me and I'm still fucking pissed about it. I mean, I'm over it, but like, so we made out. He feels so goddamn guilty. Goes and tells the elders of the congregation, like, this happened, blah, 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 blah. he gets what's called reproved. So it's not disfellowshipping. It's like the step above disfellowshipping. So it's a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
I was what was considered an unbaptized publisher. So I was still knocking on doors. I did all that, but I wasn't baptized. So they called to tell me, they're like, we're removing you as an unbaptized publisher. And I was like, all right. Like, if that's what you're going to do, like, I don't feel bad about what happened. And then I had multiple middle-aged men calling me. We need to know exactly what happened. We need to know where your hands were. We need to know like what parts of your bodies you touched. We need to know this. We need to know this. Hi, it's
Not
me.
women.
I need to know.
Middle-aged men.
Men. Women have another issue I have. It's women are very much secondary to men. This is in a lot of Christian households, religions.
I've heard of this dynamic.
Yes. So it's like the man is the head of the household. It's
Damn right.
Yeah. But like so there were like 3 different middle-aged men calling me, being like, we need details. We need to know what happened. And it started to feel perverse. And I was like, I remember I was driving to visit a friend at Northern Illinois University, and I was like, I've told you everything that's happened. I have nothing else to say to you. I've got to go. Click.
I can probably tell you as a man right now that the likelihood that it was perverse was probably correct.
Oh, sure.
At least 2 of those 3 men, if not all 3.
Hold on.
For sure.
So I'm living my life. I'm working. I'm going to school. I'm working at a pizza place downtown Chicago. I'm busting my
Which
butt.
pizza place?
Eduardo's. It doesn't exist anymore, but you can still get their frozen pizza in the grocery store.
Okay.
So I was working at Eduardo's in South Loop. 2 elders from my congregation. Granted, this is in the suburbs.
Dang.
They came all the way down to my restaurant, sat down, and they're like, we would really like to talk to you. And I was like, yo, I'm working.
Get the fuck.
You're not even in my section. I was like, you are welcome to eat here, but like, I'm not talking to you. And I like was like, I can't do this. And it was so, I know in their mindset and in their hearts, they were trying to help me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that shit was very inappropriate.
Man, this gets tricky, right? Because you can try to be helpful and still have mixed intentions, right? You could, on the surface level, you could be trying to do something good, but your ego can still get in the way. You can be trying to do something good, but there's still something a little perverse happening, right? You could be trying to do something good, but ultimately it's really a little bit more about you and the group versus the individual you say you're trying to take care of, right? Or it's more about you trying to strengthen in your own head and make more allowances for what you believe. And it's more about that than trying to take care of the individual. So it's like there can be simultaneously both things at the same time, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and that's where it gets complicated.
And these men, they're not psychologists. They're not theology majors. They're men who have worked their way up into the congregation, in charge of my life and my happiness and my path. And it's like, okay, I know everything is rooted in scripture, but like, you don't know everything. You don't know everything about my life, what's going on with me as like at the core, like who I am as a person. And it's very troubling to me. And this goes across the board, any religion, right? Like, who put you in charge? And what qualifications do you have to be giving people guidance on their lives and all this stuff? And there are people that probably need some serious psychological help, and they're not getting it. They're not getting what they need because it's like, oh, well, I'll rely on this. This is going to be the answer. And it's like, you're not in charge of that.
Yeah.
Like there's, I don't know. And I don't know the stance on all that now. It may have changed. Again, this is 20 years ago.
Whew. Whew.
Yeah. Who knew? But this is not necessarily a funny session.
It never needed to be.
Yeah. No,
There's a lot of people who have a dynamic like this in their life that they can relate to, whether it's religion or like some overextension of authority. Like how much does like what you're talking about even mirror, abuse of power in a corporation?
Oh, 100%.
Right? So it's like, it's something like we can, sadly, many of us can relate to.
Yeah.
Right? This like absolute power of people who are completely fallible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like how much, man.
And like, yeah, who's keeping them in check? And to hide behind the veil of like, well, I was brought here, like, I'm doing God's will and like, I'm a holy person. And it's like, oh, guess what? 15 years later, I know that you had an affair on your wife.
Yep.
Some of these things happen. And what's refreshing is that things come to a head. And, I don't know if it's refreshing. I don't relish in people's failures or upsets, but like everybody's imperfect. And
yes.
I don't think like, yeah, for someone to be able to rule over other people's happiness or pursuits or dreams or making out with a boy like is pretty fucked up.
I mean, that's it. Everybody is imperfect.
Yeah.
And, which is something, no matter how you grew up, you learn that at some point as you become an adult, right? It's like the veil is removed and everybody's imperfect.
Well, and everybody's different. Like, in celebrating people's differences versus like, you're not one of us is terrifying. Like, it's terrifying to think like, oh, just because I don't want to do this, I'm out. And again, like you said, like that fear, like that, like, oh, if I actually go after like something that's really going to make me happy. How many people spend how many years in their lives being like, I can't do this because I will lose XYZ. And it's really sad.
Yeah. It's also really sad too, because, here's how I feel too about like religion is like, there are things that are like so good and so on the right track. There's no way that like, if it was like all that awful, like that many people would be following it. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate to me that there becomes this group dynamic where there's like no room for dissent. I also feel like there's a sense where people feel like they become infallible when they're like have a religious belief. Not that they would say that overtly, that I'm an infallible person, but they believe they know the word of God and the word of God is infallible. So I have an infallible understanding on things. And we are all human, and that gets twisted very quickly, and people are wrong, and people get hurt, and people are meant to felt on the outside. And if you try to speak up on behalf of yourself, the power of the group and the infallibility of the group is like, can't hear it. Mm-hmm. They can't hear it. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a new perspective you have when you're on the outside that you can't fathom when you're on the inside.
Yeah.
About why people take issue with what's going on in your religious group or your religious beliefs.
Yeah,
I don't know if I said that coherently. I've had at least half of a glass of Le Grange 360 wine of Spain, Trader Joe's. It's $6. I graduated from $5 wines to $6 wines recently.
Maybe one day you'll join us at the $12.99.
Are you doing 12s?
I like a $12.
I mean, who doesn't like a $12 wine? But I don't throw down too often on a $12 wine.
You know what's funny? I barely ever drink red wine.
You're a white wine.
I am like a woman on a back porch drinks a Chardonnay kind of gal. But this is actually very tasty. What is it? Is it like a?
It's L'Orange 360. If you're more of a label person, if you're looking for the label,
that zebra's
it's a
on
zebra.
the rag.
And I think they have one with another animal on it too.
Okay. Oh, it's a Tempranillo Grenache. Okay. Yeah. No, it's nice.
Jessica, this has been such a delight.
Oh man, are we at the end?
I think we're at the end. How do you feel? How do you feel?
You know,
It's tricky talking about this sort of stuff, don't you think?
yeah. I think
There's a lot of emotions involved. There's family involved.
there is a lot, and it's like, again, I think, and we've said this before, like the intention is never to paint anybody in a bad light, or it's just like, hey, this is just not for me. And like, there are so many values and strengths that I got from having that upbringing, right? Things
100%.
and things it's like, and whether it's taught me what I want or what I don't want, things I'm good at, things I want to challenge myself to go beyond. So like if religion's your thing, I'm not bashing the fact that you have belief. 100%. I'm not doing that. It just wasn't for me. So I subscribe to the cult of improv.
Oh my God. We have one more hour now. We have to talk.
we could.
Can I say this? When did you watch Tiger King?
Yes.
When I watched Tiger King, especially Carol Baskin's like world of like stages like of moving up and like being able to like take care of the tigers, and Carol Baskin not really knowing your name until year 5, I was like, oh my God, that's IO theater.
Wait, she didn't know her name?
Well, it's like people are like, oh, she probably won't even know your name as a volunteer until like, you're here for like 5 years or like, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn, that sounds like improv theaters in general, which are their own little.
Do you want to do 2 episodes?
Yeah, please come back. We'll have white wine next time. It won't be L'Orange 360 from Spain. The one with perhaps the bleeding camel.
Oh, is that what the other one is?
No, it doesn't look like it. Oh no, sorry.
Zebra. He's had too much.
I've had too much wine.
Can we talk about balls again?
Yeah, for sure. Next episode. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Love ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Dance to the middle of the night. Come on, dance, wake up the appetite. Dance to the middle of the night. Come on, dance, wake up the appetite. Dance to the middle of the night. Come on, dance, wake up the appetite. Dance to the middle.